Hello everyone, it's me, Cole, Bezier. I am back again with another video. I know I've been posting much lately, there's just been a lot going on, and I want to apologize in advance for the quality of this video. I'm recording from my library at home here, and I have very limited options in terms of lighting. I'm doing the best I can. But that's all immaterial. Today I'm here to talk about my most anticipated at Gen Con 2024. And so I wanna start off this video. I'm gonna do a top 5 things I'm most anticipating, but I'm also gonna toss in a few honorable mentions to start. And so without much ado, I'm gonna jump right in with my honorable mentions, if you will. So I will say that with my honorable mentions, these are things that have potentially caught my eye. These aren't necessarily things that I'm going to leave the convention with. My budget is a little limited this year, so I can't go spend happy. Otherwise, I probably would grab a lot of the things that I'm going to honorably mention, if you will. But these are kind of things that caught my eye that I might still go maybe take a look at them, or maybe there's the things that aren't even available and I just might want to go get a demo of them because they sound really interesting or fun or whatever the case may be. So there's that. But regardless of whether or not I'm picking up, these are ones that I think you should definitely check out yourself if you have the time and opportunity to do so. But that being said, I'm going to jump in with my first honorable mention, and I'm going to highlight the Colossal edition of Cat in the Box Deluxe. And so one of the big games that I managed to pick up last year was, it was either last year or the year before. I get my timelines mixed up, but it was 2 years ago. I picked up Cat in the Box Deluxe Edition, and I've enjoyed every play of it since I've gotten it. And then when I found out, so that makes sense. I got it 2 years ago, and then last year I found out there's a big box edition coming. It was what they call a Colossal edition. And so they ran a Kickstarter for it, I think, late last year, and it's just recently fulfilled, I think. But it's going to be available at Gen Con, and I've looked into it. If you love Cat in the Box, this is one definitely worth picking up, because this is a much bigger version of the game. Like, everyone gets their own little, I don't know if they're game trays, but their own little, plastic tray to hold all their little player pieces that they get to put out on the board. Yeah, it looks really nice. I think it comes with a big cat mini, but I think they even have, a bigger giant plush that you could get as an add-on to go with it. But yeah, it also includes, and this is part of what appeals to me, is that they're including 2 new modules that you can mix in and play with to kind of enhance or mix up the gameplay. So that kind of, I'm always a sucker for a giant edition of a game, just because I think a giant edition does a great job of grabbing random people's attention. As someone who's spent a lot of time in a friendly local game store, having giant editions can really appeal to people. They'll walk by a table and see, ooh, what's this big thing spread out all over the place? It can really pull them in. And so that's the thing. Sometimes, some games, there can be a lot of little moving pieces and parts, and it can it can look very busy. But then, you scale it over the giant edition, it's I don't know, things like the Takanoko Giant Edition, or I've seen, they don't sell it, which is a shame. I'd totally get it if they did. I've seen giant editions of Tokyo Highway. I think at the small scale, it works, but I think it's more fun in a giant size. But I'm getting off topic. Point is, the Colossal edition of Cat in the Box caught my attention. So that's when I would say, if you like a good trick-taking game, which this is one of the better trick-taking games that I've interacted with, because it's so fun, this idea that, you have a hand of cards, but these cards have no suits, and so when you play the card, you have to define what its suit is, but only if you can give it a definitive suit. Otherwise, you risk paradoxing. It's a whole thing. It's a lot of fun. I recommend you check it out. That's my first honorable mention. The next one I want to highlight, last year I saw a Kickstarter being run by Bitewing Games. It was for Cascadero and Cascadero by Rainer Knizia. I can't say I know a whole lot about the game. I know it's gotten a lot of comparisons to Through the Desert, and certainly you look at some of the pictures for Cascadero, the proper version of the game. The Cascadero is their roll-and-write version of it, I believe. But yes, looking at it, it gave me similar vibes to Through the Desert. I've certainly enjoyed that game the few times I've gotten to play it. But yes, I'm a sucker for a good Reiner Knizia game. I and yeah, I love games of his, like Lost Cities is a phenomenal one. I mean, I've played High Society before. That's been really good. Even I think he did Millie Fiore. Don't quote me on that. Vilify me in the comments if I'm wrong, but that's, again, not here nor there. But yeah, this is one, and like it's got artwork by Ian O'Toole, and Ian O'Toole always does great artwork. I can't think of a single game where he's done the artwork where I felt like, oh, it ruined the experience for me, and yeah, I haven't had that experience. But yes, like he's done some of my favorite covers over the years. Like Pipeline is one of my absolute favorites. Like it's a game all about producing and refining oil, and like the fact that the cover looks like an oil painting, it's just phenomenal. So like there's a lot to really like about this, and I wouldn't mind checking this one out and seeing if the gameplay lives up to everything else that I'm seeing about this game that's, pulling me in. And yeah, I mean, Bitewing Games, they're a bit of a newer publisher, but they've had a good string so far. Like I think these two have done well for them, and I know one of their other big ones, Trailblazers was one, and Zoo Vadis was another one as well that I think did good for them. So yeah, so that's my next honorable mention. Was Cascadero was one I'd like to check out. Let's see. Ooh, another fun one, and this is one I actually want to, if nothing else, go get a look at it. The next honorable mention on my list is Fromage by Road to Infamy Games. A few weeks ago, I got to play this for the first time on Board Game Arena. I may have been aware of it before that, I'm not sure, but a friend had set up a match, and I was like, they needed a fourth, and I was like, sure, I'll join. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll give it a shot. Played it, loved it, and soon thereafter, I was like, yeah, I kind of want this. And so I wanted to see, is it going to be available? And like I was looking through the Gen Con preview at the time, and I was like, will it be available? And I saw it listed, and I wasn't sure. So I reached out to them, and I was like, hey, will you have it at Gen Con? And they were like, unfortunately, no, we won't. And I was like, cool. Then I realized, oh, I can late pledge for it. And I did. And so now I'm patiently waiting for my copy to arrive. Will I get it at the same time as every other Kickstarter backer? I don't know. If I have to wait an extra week or two or whatever, if they put me at the end of the queue or whatever, that's fine. I don't care. Just the fact that it's coming. But that being said, I haven't seen the game physically, so I don't know, like, just exactly how it looks on the table, if you will. I mean, I've played it a few times over Board Game Arena and TTS, and it's been solid every time. I really like it. I think it's a very solid worker placement game, all about making your own cheese. I like that it's kind of like 4 different mini games all in one, that like you have the circular board broken up into 4 quadrants, and each turn one of those quadrants faces you, and so you get to do something in that quadrant, whether it's playing whatever little mini game is there or producing resources, whatever the case may be. But yeah, it's a lot of fun trying to manage those resources, and the fact that you can make cheeses of different ages, and if you make like an age 1 cheese, you're having to put a worker out there, but then next turn you're going to get that worker right back, whereas if you put out an age 3, that worker's going to sit out there for a few turns before you get it back, so you kind of got to time, and it's like, well, I could do a big thing in this quadrant, if you will, but I really want to save this worker for the next quadrant, where I'm really trying to dominate in that, because ideally you want to maximize all the quadrants, but you've only got so many workers, and there's only so much you can do, so you kind of got to maybe choose 1 or 2 quadrants to really hone in on and maximize. So yeah, if nothing else, I want to swing by Road to Infamy Games' booth, and hopefully they have like demo copies of it set up so I can at least get a look at it in person, because if it looks half as good in person as it has on Board Game Arena and Tabletop Simulator, I know it's going to look amazing, and I'm really excited for that. And if you've not heard of Fromage, I highly recommend you check it out. Like I said, super solid worker placement game. I think it's going to be a big hit for the back half of this year, I'm sure. it might even make some top tens. Like I think it's a really good midweight worker placement game that I think is gonna get a lot of attention and a lot of praise, if you will. But that's just me saying that I wouldn't know for sure. So that's another honorable mention. Next honorable mention on my list, I want to highlight Kelp. This is a game that I had heard about last year. It had gotten a lot of buzz, both good and unfortunate buzz, if you will. There was some issues of, like, I think like there were knockoff copies of their game being made, which is really unfortunate. I don't condone that. That's not a thing that should ever be happening. It's unfortunate that it did happen, but yeah. I wasn't able to back the campaign at the time, but I did hear a lot of buzz about it, and it did sound really interesting. This idea of, like, it's this two-player abstract game, but both sides play completely differently. That one side is doing deck building, and the other side is doing, like, dice bag building, and I would just be very keen to, try a demo of it myself to see how those, like, two different play styles, like, mesh together in a fair and balanced way, because that's the thing. When you're trying to make a good two-player game, especially one that is somewhat abstracted, it's really got to be balanced, and like I said, I'm very curious how they can balance two distinct play styles, if you will. And I mean, all of that aside, though, like, even the production quality from what I've seen, like, the artwork looks great and everything else about it, yeah. And honestly, I hope this does do well, because I believe this is a first-time publisher. This is one of their first games, and it's unfortunate that they were marred in the way that they were. So I hope they're able to get past this and have big success with this game. But I'm keen to see if... I'm keen to get a demo of it if I can. So that's, yeah. And if you like a good two-player abstract strategy game, I would say this is one definitely worth checking out if you haven't already looked at the campaign or watched any of the previews that have been put out in the time since the campaign went live. Yeah, that's going to be, I believe, my fourth honorable mention then. So then I think I will wrap this up with my fifth honorable mention here. The last thing I want to mention, I want to highlight Harvest by Keymaster Games, and I've got quite a few things to say about this one, because this isn't the first time I'm recording this video. The first time I recorded this video, I hadn't played the new version of Harvest yet, and I didn't think that was going to change until I got a demo at Gen Con. But then I went to a game night this evening, and somebody had just gotten their copy in today, and I was like, oh boy. And they had room for another player, so I hopped in and got to play it, and oh boy, yeah. Like I noted on my Instagram story, the production quality is like an 11 out of 10. Like, it is fantastic, and but it's Keymaster Games. I had no doubts that Keymaster was gonna, knock it out of the park. Yeah, but yes, they did an amazing job. All those cute little animeeples. They didn't need to be that nice, and yet they went all out. And the playmats, I love the playmats. The playmats are fantastic. And I love the fact that they included a storage solution for the playmat. A lot of times with a lot of games, that they'll be like, hey, we've got this great playmat for this game. It's up to you to figure out how you want to store it, because we're not giving you a solution. And I don't want to criticize too much. I understand that it can be a challenge, and especially if that is the one component that you can't find a way to fit in the box, it's probably not worth reshaping the whole box just to make a single playmat or two fit in the box. But I very much appreciate when publishers can and do account for that. Like games like Moonrakers, like the new Harvest that has come out, and others such. The Super Deluxe Edition of Radlands is another great one. Yes. So yes. But not only is getting back on track there, not only is the production quality of this amazing, the gameplay is actually super solid as well. I recall having played the original version that wasn't by Keymaster Games, and I remember liking it. It had been so long ago, I didn't remember much about it, and part of me was tempted, because I know someone who has that version, to borrow it or play that copy again, just to see if the gameplay was enough for me to be interested in the new edition, because everything I'd been seeing about this campaign, from the previews to the Kickstarter videos Keymaster's been putting out, it's like, I was genuinely tempted to back it at like their golden edition with the playmats and the animeeples and all the other fun bits that they were tossing in there. Yes, I was really tempted to want to back it, but for whatever reason at the time I wasn't able to do it, and then I was debating, it's like, well, maybe I'll pick it up at Gen Con, because I would have to imagine they're going to have the fancy copies at Gen Con. I could be wrong, they might only have like retail copies or whatever, but yeah. Even if they did have them, though, I'm on a bit of a limited budget this year, so unfortunately, even if I wanted it, I probably wouldn't be able to get it. But if my budget were endless, I'd probably be going home with a copy. But yes, that's going to be my fifth. Sorry, that's going to be my fifth honorable mention. That being said, I want to then move on to my top 5 proper for Gen Con. So, for my number 5 most anticipated at Gen Con this year, I want to say that this list isn't going to be strictly board games. I could probably do a list that is just board games, but for me, Gen Con is more than just about games and buying them and being like, oh, I have to have this before anyone else. I don't want to wait the weeks or months before I can get it at my friendly local game store, or online, or whatever the case may be. But yes, so this list is going to include a thing or two that isn't strictly board games. And so, like I said, for my number 5, my most anticipated is going to be all the fun that I'm going to get to have at Gen Con. The fun doing demos for Good Games Publishing, the fun getting to sell our latest titles to all the wonderful people that come by our booth, getting to meet friends again and maybe make some new friends for the first time, getting to meet content creators and influencers, some of which I interact with on a regular basis, maybe going to some events in and out of the convention, just all the fun that I'm going to have. And so that is very much something that I am anticipating. I know that I've got at least one event scheduled, and I know I'm likely to see a few people I recognize, and so I am very much looking forward to that. If you're watching this video and you are someone who knows me well, please come by the Good Games booth and say hello. I'd love to meet you. It would mean a lot to me, honestly. But yes, that is very briefly my number 5. So then if I am to move on to my number 4, it's got to be Good Games Publishing. And so, to be clear, I'm going to be running demos for Good Games Publishing at their booth, and it is thanks to them that I get to go. But I do a lot of playtesting for them, and they recognize all the playtesting I do for them, and they want me at Gen Con because they know I can help demo their games very well, as opposed to just some random person they pull off the street to be like, here, demo this. It's like, they could probably do it, but they wouldn't have the same knowledge and energy and enthusiasm that me and other playtesters like me would have. So that is something I'm very much looking forward to. I am looking to running demos of old games and new games. We're going to have at least 3 new titles this year, I believe. Yes, Surf's Up, Curses and Covens, and Star Tycoon. Star Tycoon, I am personally hoping to snag a copy for myself. It's probably one of my favorite games that we've been playtesting recently that has come out that I very much enjoy. There are other things we've been playtesting that aren't out yet that I wish were out, because, oh man, they're just all so exciting to me, but that's another video for another time. But no, we've got a lot of great titles available at our booth, and I highly recommend you do check them out. Like I said, 3 new ones, Surf's Up, Star Tycoon, and Curses and Covens, are the ones that I would definitely say come on by and get a demo for. I do know one of our popular titles, though, from last year, Bark Avenue. It sold out pretty quickly. We definitely are going to have more copies of that back again this year, and I do believe the designers will also be at our booth 1, possibly 2 of the days running demos as well, so you'd get to meet them again as well. So, yeah, if you missed out on seeing them or getting a copy of the game last year, come on by. We should be able to hook you up. Furthermore, speaking of hooking people up, if you, I don't think I'm going out on a limb here. I don't think Good Games Publishing will mind me saying this, but if you are a content creator, if you do like reviews or whatever the case, or whatever, come by our booth. If you don't have any of our games, we are happy to hook you up. If you're willing to do a review, we're happy to hook you up with a review copy. It's no problem at all. And if you're not, again, come on by our games. I do want to say that we are doing some new things this year to try and pull more people in, and I'm actually kind of excited about it. Again, I'm going to try and be a little vague on this because I don't think we've hammered out all the details yet, so I don't want to, put my foot in my mouth, as they say, but I know some of the things we're doing this year. One thing that I know we're doing is there's an Australian company that makes box bands for board games, and I've seen box bands before. They're typically of a rubber band style, and I've used them before. I'm not a huge fan because the rubber can kind of like wear off on like your board games. It can leave marks on the covers, and they can potentially break over time if they get too brittle or whatever. And so I've never really been a fan of them. But then 2 years ago I was at Gen Con and I saw these really nice elastic bands, and I tried to do whatever I could to get some that year, but it just didn't work out. And then last year I was at an industry event with Good Games Publishing, and I got to talk to someone from this Australian company, and I was like, hey, I really love these. Is there any way you could hook me up? And in a little back and forth later, they were like, they sent me a package chock full of them, and I've been using them ever since. They are just so incredible. They hold up well, and they do exactly what I want them to do, which is keep my boxes secure, especially during transport. And I do believe one of the things we'll be doing this year at our booth is we'll be giving some of these away with purchase. So if you pick up one of our games, you'll probably get a box band or two. Maybe if you buy a couple of games, we'll throw in a box's worth of them. Who's to say? I do know another thing we're planning on doing, but don't quote me on this. Don't come by the booth like, hey, so-and-so said you're doing this. This is yeah. I think one of the plans is if you buy enough of our games, we'll give you a free bag. Sort of like Tabletop Tycoon does with their, does at their booth. I think we're gonna, if you buy enough of our games, we'll offer a bag like that you can carry your games out in then. So that's kind of like if you're new to Good Games Publishing, if you will, if you haven't deep dived into a lot of our games, now might be a great opportunity to do that, is my point. So that's something that I'm very much looking forward to, is all the fun that I'm going to have with Good Games Publishing. So that's my number 4. Moving on then, I'm going to jump into my number 3. And for me, there's two games that I'm going out of my way to get, if you will. And the first such game on that list is one that was only announced very recently. If you've kind of been living under a rock the last 2 weeks, you could have easily missed it. But Keymaster Games has announced a new game coming out at Gen Con, and it's not Harvest. It is Parks Roll and Hike. This is a roll and write version, if you will, of the Parks series of games, and I am very excited because I have all things Parks, and I very much love that game and its expansions, and so I'm very keen to see what they're doing with a roll and write version of it, because it only makes sense in my opinion. I've seen the artwork so far, and I've seen some of the components. It looks A+ to me, so yes, I'm very much excited to see where they go with it, and that's going to be one of the first things that I pick up either on day one or whenever I get the opportunity to do so. And on the end, though, like I said, it was only very recently announced, within the last 2, maybe 3 weeks, but I may or may not have known slightly sooner. The only thing I will say is that I do a lot of play testing, and it certainly has its perks. And I would say if you ever have the opportunity to do some play testing, take the chance. You never know what might happen. It could be a very rewarding experience. I mean, you might get to experience a new game before it's ever out. Maybe if you do enough playtesting, you might even get a free copy of that game. Who's to say? But yes, if you ever have the opportunity to play test something, like if one of your favorite publishers or favorite designers is putting a call up there, don't hesitate to answer it if the time allows. It can very much be worth it and can be a great way to get more out of this hobby, if you will. But for me, I just knew that even though I have a limited budget this year, I knew that was one of the things I definitely wanted to pick up, because I'm a big parks fan, and the fact that Keymaster Games is making more things parks, I was like, yes, I am excited. So, and it's a roll and write game, so I know that's a good one that'll be very travel friendly, that I can take and pull out pretty much anywhere and get in a quick game if I need to. So yes, for me, that's my number 3, Parks Roll and Hike. I'm very much looking forward to it. That leads me into my number 2 then. And yeah. So my number 2, just going to say it outright, it is Landmarks by Floodgate Games. I got to sort of play this the other week when a friend of mine, she was playing it on her Twitch stream. And yeah, she found a way to be able to play it with her chat, and so I was able to participate in that, and I was having a good amount of fun with that. And it's like, you know what, this is actually really solid. I see where this could potentially be a Codenames killer. I hate saying that one game is a killer of another, because it's like, I mean, unless it's like an absolute slaughter that it's like, oh, here's a similar game that is infinitely better, fine, but it's like, I hesitate to throw that term around, because like, I don't think Codenames is just gonna die with the release of Landmarks. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm very excited for Landmarks. I think it's going to be a great game, but yes, I very much like it. It is similar in the sense that like somebody is like the clue giver, if you will. So they're gonna have a little card. There's gonna be like this map out there, and you're gonna basically have to write down one-word clues, and then the rest of the group is gonna have to try and figure out where do we place that clue on the map, essentially. And the hopeful idea is that they can find the treasures and escape the island, if you will, before they're succumbed with curses, if you will. So yeah, it looks to be a lot of fun. I mean, like I said, I'd love to be in the the clue giver role, if you should, to see what it's like to be on that side of things, because I've been on the other side and I enjoyed that. So yeah, but here's the thing. I watched my friend play this on her Twitch stream, and then I was like, huh, what's it gonna cost? And so I started looking into it, and then I saw what the MSRP would be for this game, and I was like, okay. And then I remembered that the last 2 years running, Floodgate has done events, special events on the first day of Gen Con. I know 2 years ago they did like a 5 years of Sagrada event. Daryl Andrews was there, and they were highlighting the Sagrada legacy that was in the works, if you will. So that was really cool to get to see all of that and have fun with that. So that was great. And then last year was the release of their new title, Everything Ever, and so they did a launch event with that, where you could buy a ticket and get into the event and see some content creators, learn about the game, play the game, and even walk away with a copy of the game. And so I was like, huh, I wonder if they're going to do a similar thing this year. And it turns out that, yeah, they are. They're doing a Landmarks launch event. So the first day, the Thursday night from 5 to 7 p.m., it's like, and the event room is like right outside the exhibitor hall. And it's $8. $8 gets you into the event. You get to meet some wonderful people in the industry. You get to meet the wonderful people from Floodgate Games. I believe Paula Deming's going to be there, which, I mean, come on, that's a win-win right there. But then for the $8, you're getting a copy of the game. That's like more than 50% off of what they're offering it for at the booth. And guess what? Tickets are still available. I don't know how tickets are still available. It's insane to me. $8 for a new game? That's crazy. How could you not jump at that opportunity? I feel like you just have to not know. And fair that you wouldn't know, but I am telling you, and if I could shout it louder for everyone in the back to hear, I absolutely would. Seriously, if you're watching this and it's before Gen Con, buy a ticket, go to this event. You will have a great time. I guarantee it. And if I'm wrong, come find me at the Good Games Publishing booth, and I'll personally apologize to you for letting you down. Seriously. It's insane to me. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the game, though, because I think it's one that'll go over great with all my groups, because a lot of the people that I play games with, they've enjoyed Codenames, and I think this is just another word game that is just really going to go over well with them. Like, they've enjoyed Codenames, they've enjoyed Just One, they So Clover. I think this is going to be another great game in the genre that I think is really going to win a lot of people over. So I think this is going to be a big one for Floodgate, and yeah. Even if you can't make it to the event, I still recommend you go by the booth and highly check it out. And just as a small aside, I am very much big fans of Floodgate games. 2 years ago, I made it very clear to them, hey, I love Sagrada. Like, I had an opportunity to playtest one of the expansions, but more than that, I made it clear, hey, I love Sagrada. And they went out of their way to set up an opportunity where I could meet the designer and even get to play with Daryl Andrews back in 2022. And Daryl Andrews is one of the nicest people in the entire industry. Prove me wrong. I dare you. But yeah, so it meant a lot to me that they were willing to be so nice to me and help organize that with me. And so that was really, like, it was my first year at Gen Con. It was like an all-time moment in my life, if you will, for me, for all of that to just come together the way it did. So that was incredible. And every convention since, I will always wander on by the Floodgate Games booth and I'm like, hey, you got any new Sagrada promos? So as a small aside, I'm definitely looking forward to picking up whatever Sagrada promo they've got for this year. So we'll see what that is. But yes, I look forward to that. And yeah, as much as I say all of that, that was only my number 2. So now we've got my number 1 most anticipated at Gen Con 2024. And for me, my most anticipated is surprisingly an expansion. And it is the Cult of Chrome expansion. So here's the thing, and I'm not going to be shy about this. I mentioned previously about playtesting, and I want to further add, if you really like a game, let the designer know, let the publisher know. Don't be shy about it. Feel free to go on Board Game Geek and give it a 10 out of 10. Don't be afraid if they have, like, if the designer has a social media account, don't be afraid to, maybe make a post or message them or whatever, like, hey, I really like your game. Don't be afraid. Like, if there's some way to publicly let them know, let them know. And that was the thing. I actually got the opportunity to playtest the Cult of Chrome expansion for Radlands. I've had to bite my tongue for a long time because I couldn't say anything, because it's mentioning anything, the designer, the publisher, the fact that it's Radlands, like, saying literally anything would be a pretty big giveaway, and so I just had to kind of bite my tongue and not say anything. And it's been tough because it's been like a long time, and it's like, oh man, this is so good, and I'm so looking forward to this, but I can't say anything. And it's like, the only thing I could do is just, like, occasionally message the designer, like, any update on when it's coming out? Like, that was the only thing I could do. But yes, I am very much looking forward to picking up a copy of this. I don't know if I'll be able to get it at Gen Con, because I think as a reward for all my playtesting efforts, the publisher, Roxley Games, is gonna give me a copy. I don't know how that's going to work out, but irregardless, I'm very much looking forward to the expansion. I have friends that are very much looking forward to the expansion. I think this is going to be one of the big hits at Gen Con. I think a lot of people, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if there is a line at Roxley Games' booth on day 1. I would not be surprised if there are people lined up to get this, because let me tell you, it is a fantastic expansion. There's not a lot in there. It's just 30, I believe 32 camps, new camps I should say, and then 10 replacements for the base game, and it's all really, really good. I mean, it might not seem like a lot, but it really is in a lot of these new camps. If you've been catching any of the previews that the designer's been doing on Board Game Geek over the last month, yeah, there's a lot to be excited about, and I absolutely am excited. I would love to be able to get my copy at Gen Con, but we'll see how that pans out. But yes, if you've played Radlands and you love it, seriously, go to the Roxley Games booth, because otherwise you're having to wait like another month before it hits retailers or is even available to everyone on their website. So seriously, that is my number one, and I can't wait till everyone tries it. That's just I know how good it is. It is really just that good, and I can't wait to see all the new fun that everyone gets to have with it. Because not only am I excited to introduce it to all my friends, I'm just excited to see everyone else getting to experience it, because I know they're gonna love it. Like, it's a small expansion, yes, but I think it's a very impactful one, if you will. I think all these new camps are really gonna change up the gameplay, if you will, and just make the game a lot more fresh and fun, if you will. I'm just really excited. So please pardon my enthusiasm, if you will. But yes, so that's me. That's my number one. That is what I am most anticipating at Gen Con 2024. So I think, in conclusion, I just want to wrap this up by saying, if you've enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like. Feel free to follow me on my Instagram and my YouTube and all those fun places. Links and such will be in the description below. But yes, if you're going to be at Gen Con, please feel free to come by the Good Games Publishing booth and say hello to me. I will not shy away from anyone. And if you can't get to me during exhibitor hall hours, send me a personal message on my Instagram. I will happily sort out some way to meet you. That's not a problem. That's going to do it for this video. I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.